Dun, 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 dun,
Okay.
dun, dun, dun,
We are careful, Ben. Copyright.
You got 10 seconds. You almost made it.
All right, so we are going to be talking about the next two Mission Impossible films, Mission Impossible 3 and Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. If you have not seen any of these films, please go away and come back, go see them, or whatever. Or you know what? They've been up for a while. But Ben, how could you?
I'm kidding.
So full spoilers for both of these movies. So let's get right into it with Mission Impossible 3.
I'll go first.
Well, hold on. I got some context and some credits to give real quickly. Directed by J.J. Abrams in 2006. Written by J.J. Abrams, Alex Kurtzman, and a name we haven't heard in a long time, Roberto Orci. This is after Orci and Kurtzman had written The Island for Michael Bay, but this is director J.J. Abrams' feature debut because he had been directing TV episodes up until this point, including Alias, which is why he got this job.
Right.
Because Tom Cruise really liked Alias. Oh, and they also did The Legend of Zorro prior to this, Orci and Kurtzman. There's The Legend of Zorro and The Island, and then this came out.
Womp womp.
Womp womp. And I do want to mention this real quickly about this. This has the lowest box office of the series, and the reviews were generally positive, but they didn't. But a lot of the more critical reviewers really didn't like this movie because they felt tired of the Mission Impossible franchise. They have said in a post-Bourne world, because Bourne Identity and Bourne Supremacy had come out, why do we need this? Why we don't need Mission Impossible? And how interesting things have changed.
That's definitely, I get that as a time frame review.
Right.
Whereas like the Bourne movies are so hot and those movies are really cool and it's like doing like the fast cuts and like not so much like just like the big James Bondy spy stuff. So like I get that, especially is this before or after Casino Royale too?
It is after Casino Royale.
So after Casino Royale, which is again more Bourne-esque. Yeah. I think maybe people, even though this is a good movie, it's not the greatest movie ever made. So I think people were more critical than probably they needed to be.
I think you're right because Mission Impossible 2 was not well received.
Yeah.
And people were, and then in between this, you had these two highly successful action films in the Bourne films. And then you come up with this, and I think people are just like, "Oh, this is trite. I've seen this before."
People were also down on Tom Cruise at the time.
So that happened just during production, during a press for this movie, and then a lot after this movie, which I'll get into for Ghost Protocol. But yeah, that is a factor here. Anyway. What do we think about this one? Ben really desperately wants to go first, so I'll let him do that.
The first time I saw this movie, and also the last time I saw this movie, it was on Stars, and I thought it was cool. Rewatching it again, this movie's great. I loved this movie. I had a blast with this movie. I want to say the reason why I had a lot of fun with this movie is because of Philip Seymour Hoffman and how much of an evil bastard he plays. And he's not like that maniacal. I don't know why, but there are times when villains, like you have a Jason Momoa type of villain who was completely unhinged, off the walls, ready to rock and roll. And then you have the more calm, collected villain in Philip Seymour Hoffman in MI3, who is just cold, calculating, doesn't give a damn, very rarely raises his voice. And it's just like, ooh, I hate you, but I love you at the same time. And also something I liked is I really enjoyed is Ethan fighting for something. I mean, yes, he's fighting to stop this rabbit's foot. He's trying to avenge his friend whom he trained and watched die right in front of him, but also trying to save his wife. And I really like that Ethan is not just doing like, oh, I need to have a mission for me. Like the first Mission Impossible, oh, I was disavowed, I need to do this. Or even in 2, he's like, I just need to do this for me. He's doing this for someone else. I mean, granted, it's not going to save the entire world, yes, but his main driving point is Philip. Davin has my wife. I need to get her back, and I will do it by any means necessary.
Okay, I want to cut you off there because you're going into a full review. So, Ryan.
I think this is a pretty awesome movie. Did you mention the music? I don't know if you mentioned. Did you mention the music?
Michael Giacchino.
Okay, I'm just making sure. He worked with J.J. Abrams on Lost because Giacchino did all of Lost. He brought him over here, which is music is phenomenal. This is great. It's definitely not my favorite Mission Impossible, but it's certainly. I mean, no, I don't think any of them are honestly bad. I'm the most positive on 2 of all of us, but like this is another really good one. I think it's great. Like it definitely feels like the most clean, like Hollywood produced movie. Like I definitely see all of J.J. Abrams all over it. For better or for worse. But yeah, I think it's a really good, like kind of like a clean slate. Like, hey, we're gonna relaunch the franchise in a way, even though I think they're doing that again with the next one in a way. But I think it's a good time at the movies.
Sparkz?
Yeah, I really, really like this one. I think this is where Ethan really gets defined as a character. And like, not that the first one didn't give him a lot of character stuff, but we are with him for like, in a way where he's just kind of the guy on the outs and he's so isolated for a lot of it. And even then, like when we do encounter characters, like it's the first time we're watching him spend time with Luther.
We're also
it's not like we're seeing a lot of his relationships and how he engages with them, because most of the people he's encountering are people who he's either encountering for the first time or he's not on like good standing with. And then 2 just kind of doesn't have who Ethan is between that film and this film present in it as a character. Like it's one of the reasons I said I rub up against 2 is because like looking back on it, I'm like, I just don't see Ethan in this role the same way I see him in 1 and 3. Whereas like here, I feel like I really feel like I'm connected to who Ethan is as a character, and like where he fits into the story, where he fits into IMF, all that feels very crystal clear and well brought to life in this film.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Sparks. So I love this movie. I think this movie rules. This is the first Mission Impossible movie I saw. Quick anecdote. I saw it with my dance teacher at the time. And it was at old theater and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoed it.
We saw it too.
We did?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you were there.
I was there.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, I really, really like this movie. I still do. I think it's got one kind of major problem that kind of keeps it from being like really great, but we'll get into it. Uncredited cameo for this movie, Roberto Orci and Alex Kurtzman. They're in this movie.
Neat.
Okay, so let's where do we want to start with this one?
Hoffman is incredible.
Yes.
Ben is correct. I think Hoffman remains one of the strongest of the villain. I won't say the strongest, but one of the strongest of the villain performances in the Mission Impossible franchise. Certainly, like compared to our previous 2, like this guy's just giving it.
I'm gonna hurt her.
I told Ryan, I'm like, there's a world where Hoffman played Wilson Fisk that I would have loved to have seen. And like he's just it was so smart. I think the smartest thing this movie does is start with a scene that comes later in the film, which is the scene where he's got Ethan to the chair, and we get Hoffman and him on the odds against each other right from the jump. We get what that relationship is going to be. It is the driving force of the narrative of this film. Even though we don't know how we get there, it sets you up so well to care about everything that comes after. I think that was such a smart decision to make in the edit of this movie. And it's really powerful. It's frankly, I think, one of the best performed scenes from Tom Cruise in this franchise. Yeah. And from Hoffman. It's just like the way they play with each other. They are electric. Yeah. This is really, really great enemy chemistry.
I really like them together in that scene. I think that sequence is incredible. I also made the same note that this is probably the best we've seen Tom Cruise as Ethan. And what I love about Hoffman in this, what he does for this role is very subdued, right? He's not big. He's not like Ben, Ben said it succinctly. Like, he's not on the surface. You wouldn't really see a lot of acting going on, but he is able to bring this character down to a more mellow and frankly more terrifying place. Because he never, like Ben said, he never raises his voice, and when he does, you listen.
Yeah, he being this character, like this world's arms dealer. Like, you are someone who lives in the shadows, so like it pays to be small. He's a larger person, but it pays to be small in personality. So like people know him, they know how threatening he is, but like he's never gonna make a scene. Like, he just wants to get in and out of there. He's not flashy. He's there to do a job, and he will do whatever it takes to finish that job, and he'll kill anyone he has to. And he won't be loud about it, which again is cool. I like that.
Yeah,
he always feels in control.
One of the scenes that actually really got me was when this is much later on in the movie, so if you want me to stop, just let me know. But it's one to see. But it's a very easy scene where all you hear is Hoffman's voice, and it's after they kidnap Julia from the hospital, and when Ethan's on the phone, and for some reason, just when Hoffman said, "Don't threaten me, just don't listen." A simple line delivery. Nothing there, like no sharp tone, like no sharpness added to his words. Just like the second he says, "Don't threaten me," and just that, I don't know what it was, but I was like, if I felt that if I was in Eden's position, I shut the hell up and listened.
Well,
he's not Shakespearean. Yeah.
Right. Well, one of the things that's really interesting is even before that in the plane interrogation, right?
Oh yeah.
Hoffman, after being brought up, he just says, I'm gonna find your wife. I'm going to kill her, Ethan.
Yeah.
And it's so subdued, and it's so there's very little inflection. It's terrifying because you're like, oh shit.
Well, after he spent the first part of the scene, like Ethan going, and Ethan's good, even if you haven't watched the previous films, Ethan's good at his job. He's basically what's so fun for Tom Cruise, I think, in this one is he's kind of set up to be Superman in this movie. Like, he is perfect. That's the implications of who he is as an agent. He is the top tier, perfect guy. And when he's doing an interrogation, it never goes this way. And all he's getting back from him, he's like, why don't you tell me your name? Yeah. Tell me who you are. And that is so frustrating for Ethan. And I think that is part of what, to Ben's point, like he says it then, and he says it again when he's holding the gun on Julia, basically to the effect of like, don't tell me bullshit that you're not going to do and that you're not going to be able to do, because he's always like Ryan said, he's always in control. And he's just like, he always has this air that he is in control. Yeah. And Hoffman is so good at playing.
He is so no nonsense. And like I like the Ghost Protocol's villain too, but that guy is very Shakespearean. He loves to be up on a stage and monologue about the end of the world and shit. Right. Hoffman would never do that. Or Davian. He's like, again, like he's just like, I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna kill your whole family. Right. Like this is like I should have been in Moscow 4 hours ago. You know what I mean? Like this is, you're just getting in my way. I don't want to do this.
It's one of those rare times that I think like Hoffman brought to life something that he adds something that the script wants to say he is, but a lot of other scripts have said this too and not had the performers bring it the same way, which is where you are told that the villain is untouchable in the minds of the agency, in the minds of the good guys. You cannot get to this guy. And he plays a character who knows that. Yes. 100% knows that and has no fear because of it. Yeah. And that doesn't happen a lot in these kinds of performances. And he elevates the material of this script by doing so. And I do want to shout out, because we're talking about Hoffman, one of the best things Hoffman does in this movie is actually when he's playing Ethan. Yes. Yeah. I see his eyes and his face and his manners that he's Ethan. Yeah. It's really good. It's really, really good.
His inflection changes too, where he talks more like Tom Cruise.
Yeah. When he's doing the pointing, I'm like, I've seen Tom Cruise do that. Yeah. Like he's captured Tom Cruise completely. Yeah.
I'm thinking the Ghost Protocol at the beginning.
Yes. When he's doing that, it's just you see Tom Cruise in Philip Seymour Hoffman, and it's incredible. Yeah. Like he is very good.
The transition, real quick, Ben. When Tom Cruise is putting the Hoffman face on, and there's a quick pan of like it cuts, it's like a fade of black of somebody's back of their head, and it's just Hoffman there or whatever it is.
They do go around his back, but like you're still seeing the loose latex pieces.
It's
and
such
they
a
are formed
perfect
on, and then all of a sudden it's Hoffman.
It's so perfect. Such a good camera.
Like that whole scene where Tom Cruise is playing, I mean, it's Hoffman, but it's Hoffman playing Tom Cruise as Hoffman. It reminds me of the Helena Bonham Carter watching Emma Watson play Helena Bonham Carter so she can be her, it's that scene from Harry Potter 7, or when she's going to the bank, when they're going to the bank vault at Gringotts. It's very much like that. But even then, even while watching this, there are parts of me while watching this, I'm thinking, I know that's Philip Seymour Hoffman, but I still feel that's Tom Cruise, and it works.
The manhole bit, hey, what's up?
Yeah,
nothing. What's up with you? It's so good.
Or even when they're, when they park before they go into the Vatican, they park the car and they're all yelling at each other in Italian, and then the other guy goes like, "Hey, it's fine," and all the other car drivers are like, "Oh yeah, it's okay."
There's just like no world, I feel, where they wouldn't have written a longer scene of Ethan pretending to be Davian had they known how good Hoffman would be at it. Like, I wish it went on for longer. He's so good.
I would love if there's like a whole deleted scene.
Yeah, like a whole just bit of him having to pretend to be Davian and like Hoffman just nailing it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines is she's like, Zen, when she's saying, "Oh, it's such a nice car, blow it."
Yeah.
She didn't want to blow up the Lamborghini.
I do love seeing Maggie Q.
Yeah. So we got a crew. We got Ving Rhames back. Coming back. We got Simon Pegg joining the crew. He's not much in this. He's not in this movie a lot. I forgot that he starts as just like a dude he goes to talk to. I forgot that. That's really fun.
But he's got the talk him through at the end.
Yeah,
which is good.
I like our crew a lot.
Yeah.
Aaron Paul's in this movie.
He is.
This is Breaking Bad time, so he's just Jesse Pinkman.
Ben's like, where? He's Ethan's brother-in-law.
Bro, you know the guy at the party. He's like, yo, bitch. The guy who's just Jesse Pinkman at the party.
You know what? It was the hair, because he grew his hair out. I'm used to Jesse Pinkman having a shaved head, so that's why he has him.
I want to talk about the party sequence, which is why I brought up Aaron Paul, because Greg Grunberg is also in that sequence, sure. And I love the bit when he's like so bored at Tom Cruise and the ladies are like, "I'd marry him."
Yeah, he's the perfect man. That party scene establishes like the perfect man.
He listens. He's attentive. He cares. Absolutely. Yeah.
I really like that scene because it shows a really good side of Ethan, right? Like it shows his domestic side. Also, if we find out in that sequence that his mom has passed in between 1 and 2, in between 1 and 3. Sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
And I just really like that sequence, and it sets up his new superpower, which is reading lips.
Yeah.
And it's a really excellent sequence to set up this new Ethan, and it gets us to really like Julia. I think I really like Julia in this movie, and that sequence is part of the reason why, like, you feel that they are in love, that they are married, that Ethan's not doing this for any other reason than he loves her.
Yeah,
right.
Michelle Monaghan is just a really naturally charismatic person. I don't think I've ever seen anything that, like, I've always loved her in anything she's in. I always go to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with Robert Downey Jr.
Yes,
and I'm just like, she is just again naturally just like flows charisma. So like anything she's in, I'm always happy to see her, and like she does have great chemistry with Tom Cruise. Yeah.
Ben, can you bring up Dan's comment real quick?
Yes, I can. Dan's saying, fun fact with the Harry Potter scene, that's probably also true of this. They filmed it 3 times. Helena Bonham Carter did the scene, then Emma did an impression of her, and then Helena Bonham Carter did the impression of the impression.
That's fun. I
really love that.
That's cool.
There's definitely an amount where like Hoffman clearly did the work on analyzing how Tom Cruise performs, because he captured him incredibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, like, I'm agreeing completely with what Brandon and Ryan are saying. Like, Michelle Monaghan and my investment in her relationship with Ethan is so strong that I remember when we got to Ghost Protocol and she wasn't in the beginning of the movie. And then for a while, like, we're waiting to like, oh, they just like split up. That really sucks because they were really committed to each other. That, you know, how the rest of that movie plays out, we'll talk about it. But like, it bummed me out because I really, really liked them.
Yeah.
And it's tough. And it is also a credit, I think, to both of them as performers to make you really deeply care about them pretty much by the end of that party scene. You're invested in both of them.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long and they get you there.
And you kind of feel when, sorry, Ben, real quickly, you kind of feel it when Ethan, you know, he has to go back. He has to go on this trip to save Carrie Russell. And you kind of see, because they're leaning into the Incredibles trope, right? It's not the Incredibles trope. They've done it before. But like that Mr. and Mrs. Smith trope of like, oh, you don't know what I'm really doing. And I've got to lie to you to go on this vacation real quickly.
He's a secret superhero.
Yeah, and so I really like how they play that, and I like how they set up that Ethan is retired. He didn't intend to. He was never intending to lie to her. It was like just never going out in the field again.
Yeah,
he's training
trainer
agents.
only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's Top Gun Maverick, Ethan Hunt.
Billy Crudup's in this.
I forgot. I remember he was in it. I didn't remember he was a bad boy.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun.
I legitimately was like, for a minute, was like, oh, Lawrence Fishburne is the bad guy, right?
Yeah, me too. I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot he was the bad guy. And then in my brain's like, he's not, though.
Yeah,
No,
especially because he plays that scene like, you look at me with those judgmental eyes all you want, but I will bleed on the flag to make sure the stripes stay red.
Yes!
Like, which is such a good bit, but with the context that Ethan's supposed to have, you're like, oh, he's so bad.
It's a good mix-up. It's good.
Oh, no, it was definitely one of those things because the whole time I'm thinking it's like, it can't be Lawrence Fishburne, can it? No, it's like that scene with like the judgmental eyes and bleeding on the flag. I was like, yeah, it probably is though. And then the reveal was like, oh, I should have seen this coming, but damn it, movie, you got me.
I really love, because we talked about the line. My favorite line is when Lawrence Fishburne says in response to Ethan Hunt, "It's unacceptable that chocolate makes you fat, but sorry, I've gotten but I've had my fair share, and guess what?
Yeah, he's bringing so much in other news, water, wet, energy to this performance. It genuinely makes me sad that Lawrence Fishburne didn't at least come back for Protocol. Yeah, I really wish, like, even if he was the one who got shot in Protocol, we'll get there. I still kind of wish he was the one who came back because, like, I really like him. Yeah. In this role, as small as it is, we have just a really good cast in this one. Yeah.
Yes.
I just realized who played the secretary in Protocol because the whole time
we'll get to it.
Well, we'll get to it, but still, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I blanked on that.
Sure. This is a crazy good cast, and I think everyone is very good in it. I think the kind of, I've been thinking a lot about your mom's comment, Sparkz, about how Mission Impossible is meant to be about a team and not just one person.
I really thought that sentence was going somewhere else.
Also did.
I'm really glad.
I've really been thinking about your mom.
Oh, I've been thinking about the comment that your mom said.
Sure, yeah.
Where it's talking about where she was talking about how Mission Impossible it's a team, it's not one person, and very much so is in the first two films. It's very much the Ethan show,
right?
But here we really, even though Sandra Oh and Irish dude don't get Declan,
Maggie Q,
and what was the Irish? I think you were correcting me about the Irish dude.
No,
Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. Nope. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers.
Jonathan Rhys-Meyers.
I'm good with names, man.
Those two don't get a lot to do, but I'm invested in them. I enjoy them. They work off of Tom Cruise and Ving Rhames really well.
You're fun.
And what I think this movie does very, very well is give Luther Strickler such a good character arc in relation to Ethan. Like you feel their relationship in this movie. I love them in the first two movies, but there's not a lot that Ving Rhames really gets to do. But here we have so many scenes where it's just the two of them bonding.
Yeah.
Talking about love that. Like how hard it is to have a love life as a spy and stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I really love their scenes together.
I married her yesterday. Well, congratulations.
I love those.
They're really good, and I really like. This is the point, right, where we get Luther as voice of reason for Ethan.
Yes.
Because that's the point where he's throwing Damien out of the plane, and he's cutting the belts, and Luther's like, Ethan, this isn't the way. This is not like. And Luther is the guy who pulls. Like, we knew on some level eventually Ethan was going to need that guy, and Luther is that guy.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we really see him fulfill that role.
Right. I really like that. When we kind of get in the first film, which sets it up really nicely. Like, it doesn't come out of left field that this is who this person would be to Ethan.
Right.
I really like the bit when he does the stunt in this movie, which is the jumping off of the building and swinging over. I really like the bit where he made it. I knew he'd make it.
Yeah, I knew he'd make it. I knew it. I since we're talking about stunts, one of my favorites, I still love the bit where the missile comes down on the bridge and Tom Cruise gets blown into the side of the car.
Oh,
it's a great stunt.
I still remember that like from the trailer and like, oh yeah, damn, this movie is going to be real. And that whole scene's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's really solid action in this one. I think they use it sparingly and well.
Yeah. Like the opening rescue action scene is really well done. Like how they get out and the escape method's really fun. All the team having to work together and stuff. And
this is like when Orci and Kurtzman are doing well with their job, right? Because we get a lot of good setup stuff that pays off later. We brought up the the lip reading that Ethan can do, and that comes up again with Billy Crudup later. That's how he's able to get important information.
Yes.
So that's really important. You get the bomb in the brain, and the bomb in the brain eventually comes back around. That kind of stuff, like, and how they were going to try to save her, but they didn't get to. Has to use a similar tactic at the end of the film. I think that they do a lot of good setup payoff in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Don't forget the off.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite bit when he's talking Julia through the gun and he's testing the thing and he's just like just turn it on and off. Don't forget the off.
Speaking of the Kerry Russell bomb moment, I've never forgotten how I felt when I watched her eyeball go sideways in the theater. That wild. That was rough.
That's a rough death, like really like horrific. Because of that, because on that sequence, one of the things I think Abrams does not great in this movie, which is something he completely backs away from later on in his career, is how close he is on the camera when we're in the interior shots of specifically the helicopter and the car later on. A lot of movement, and it makes it very difficult to kind of follow that action for me. And I kind of wish we had studied the camera a bit more.
Sure, he's a little tight in this movie in a way that you're right. Like he definitely isn't later in his career. We got like on one of the scenes where he's talking with Hoffman, where like they're being cut like right at the chin and the top. And I'm like, I get that can be an artistic choice. I just don't think it's working.
Well, next is Star Trek, right? After this,
next is Star Trek,
and I like Star Trek a lot. So I also haven't seen it in a while, but I don't remember the camera being a problem in that one.
I think it's not. He gets a lot wider out, and I don't think that this ever comes up again. Honestly, in his film career.
Because I agree with that. It is very like we're very tight in the shots.
But there's some really good tension sequences, like in that sequence when we're watching the timer for the defibrillator go down, and you're like, we're gonna make it, and then
and it's not like loud. It's just like a little. And you're like, oh, she's fine, but then you see her eyeball.
Yeah, it's really horrific.
Yeah. This movie shows what you can do with, I mean, yes, you have grand things, but also the little things matter. Like Agent Ferris's death. I mean, we were talking about it, but yeah, it's not this grand, like, it's not like the grand, like, complete head explosion, like gore, blood splatter everywhere. It's simple. It's just, and she's fine 1 second, and then the next, her eyes are all going weird, and you can tell she's dead, and it's very painful. It's heartbreaking to see that. And then later on you see Ethan training her and how that you're like a little sister. It's like, oh, that's no wonder he's so cavalier on this.
Did you have sex with your little sister?
There's something so I don't think this is intentional. I just think it's funny, but there's something so Cortana from Halo reminiscent to me about the way Kerry Russell's, like, it's like when Master Chief is remembering things Cortana says in my head, of like how you'll get like a little bit of flashback and the voiceover lingers over, and it's like, do you think I'm ready? Or like whatever it is. And I'm like, oh God, this is such Halo vibes.
Sad,
it's like, it's very of its time in that moment. I think it's very funny.
Yeah.
I don't think that's intentional. I just think it's like that moment in time.
Yeah.
But
I definitely get it now. As you were explaining it, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, you felt that vibe entirely. Yeah. I'll highlight my two problems with the film. One is it's not really a this film problem. This is kind of the franchise problem, I think, until a little later on. It's even in Ghost Protocol, which is that Ghost Protocol is a little better about it. Every time we're getting a little better, but our side lady characters, specifically our side ladies of color, not really getting a lot of character stuff. Now, to be fair, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers also doesn't get a lot in this movie, but Maggie Q, not a fully engaged character.
Yeah.
We talked about Andy Way Newton last time, not a fully engaged character. And we'll talk about it again in Ghost Protocol, where I think it's better, but it's not great.
Thank God they didn't kill Maggie Q in this movie.
Yes, I was really happy.
Because then, like, all the women will just be kidnapped or murdered.
I know you were nervous about. I think you brought it up, or someone else who was watching with us. I think that they thought Maggie Q was the one under Julia's mask.
It was me.
Yeah, and like that would have really sucked if that was true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The other thing I'll just bring up really quickly is, like, it's been a while since I saw this one, but for some reason, the pacing of this movie felt too long. For me, I felt like the movie went on just a little long. I did have a moment where I was like, man, this movie's still going?
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that. I felt it.
I don't know if I necessarily do, but because we're voicing these things, I'll say that my biggest problem with this movie is that it just kind of ends. And I think it's good. And I think there's nothing really here that's necessarily bad, but it's just Michelle Monaghan shoots Billy Crudup, which I think is a weird choice in general. And then it's over.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, oh, that's it. Okay, I guess.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I think that part of what it is the extra time we have to take for Ethan to go get the rabbit's foot. And
the rabbit's foot.
And while I'll say, like, I kind of like that we don't actually see what happens in the building, and then we just get I can't get out. Look up. I kind of like that bit. Too. But there is a part where I'm like, it probably would have been simpler if Davian already had the rabbit's foot and Ethan got one of them off the bridge. Not Davian, but the rabbit's foot. And so he has it. And now it's just setting up the drop and getting us to the end of the film, because like doing the whole heist thing in Shanghai is a little cumbersome.
I will not. I don't totally agree about the pacing, but I do agree there's like one additional thing. Like I didn't have a problem with long it is, but I do feel like it's something we could have trimmed some of it. Yeah. Like I liked everything in it. But yeah,
I still have a good time watching it, but I was like, I definitely started to feel a little like that.
No, you feel like there's a new scene introduced. Like, oh, I didn't realize we have more of this to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have an insert aside into what Sparkz was talking about, specifically the moment with, rewind and add an asterisk, which is when you're talking about when he got the rabbit's foot. He's like, I can't get to the roof. Look up. It was Tom Cruise. This is what I really noticed, that Tom Cruise is really good at. This is gonna be really weird, but like that face, that like face, that kind of like, that kind of like roll your eyes, kind of shrug face before something really funny happens.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I always laugh. I think he's a physical actor, yeah. Very good comedic and physical actor. Yeah, that's the asterisk. Oh, I love the gadgets. That's what I've been trying to say for a little while. One of the things I really appreciate this film and onward, and there's always been gadgets in this franchise, but I'm really glad that this film didn't abandon the gadgets, because you could have, right? Both the Bourne films and Casino Royale, which came out before this, did not have gadgets. Right. Controversially in Casino Royale. So you could have had like gadgets aren't cool anymore. And I'm so happy they were like, no, cool gadgets.
Yeah. Again, like we were talking about earlier, like it was like Edge. We were like an Edge fest. And then like, yeah, what if we just had like a cool spy movie again? And I don't think the audiences really wanted it at the time. But like, yeah, like I love that we just keep going forward. Like, no, we are a franchise about gadgets. Like Mission Impossible. That's what we have, ripping masks off, baby. That's what we do.
In many ways, I think Mission Impossible 3 lasts and does better over time by not going with the trend.
Yes.
And instead resisting it and giving you classic spy.
And it's funny because the movies kind of, real quick, man, they kind of do turn into that with McQuarrie, but they still keep the cool spy shit. They just turn into dope action movies as well. So like everybody wins in this franchise, really.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say I was going to say I love the helicopter scene. The chase through the wind farm, I thought that was really effective.
Yeah. Oh, there's a great scene where he does like a big flippy flip to avoid a missile. I'm like, that's some good piloting.
Yeah,
Irish man.
Yeah,
I saw that in the A-Team also.
Speaking of the secret gadgets, I just really like some of the spy stuff we get even early on. Like the call for him is, we've got this all expenses paid travel deal coming up, and he's like, oh shit. And then the Kodak camera.
Yeah. I always love how every time it's like this messes with self-destruct, it's just like you see the smoke fly up, and it's just you hear like this little and like the smoke comes up. I
really like how. Sorry, Ben, real quickly. I really like how the IMF agency looks in this. I kind of miss this. We don't really get this look for the IMF agency again, and I really kind of miss this look. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'll just spotlight a couple of other notes real quick. This was one, another really strong performance moment for Tom Cruise is the, it's a little long of a scene, I'll be honest, but I don't mind it, which is the scene where he's struggling not to tell Julia the truth.
Oh, yes.
Right before they get married.
Yeah.
And she's like, just make me believe this is real. And when he's just like, the amount of emotions you watch go through his face as he wants to tell her.
The million things he wants to say.
Yes. And like, you can really feel it and you can really see it. And
you just have to trust me.
Credit to Tom Cruise. I think it's a good performance. I think that really, really works.
True.
It's an excellent score. We already brought up Michael Giacchino. He intersperses the theme throughout the movie. I think he does a really good job. I think he perfects it in the next one.
Absolutely,
yeah.
But I'm really glad that he's here doing it.
His horns are blazing, dude. I love it. I love it.
like that we get more info on how they make masks. I feel like we get more kind of an insight into mask technology in each film, and we get like the kind of making process at this point, which was
The
kind
newest
of fun.
iterations of them and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah. And whenever Tom Cruise can just like sprint on a set, I'm really into it. So I love the shot when he was escaping and it like pans out and over and you just follow him running through Shanghai. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, it's a really good shot. They use the location well.
This was the movie that started the Tom Cruise running memes because man, he does run a lot in this one.
He does.
And he's got such a good running pose.
He does.
We've touched on it a bit, but the entirety of the bridge scene, I think, is brilliant.
Yeah.
Luther and Ethan trying to protect civilians that are on the bridge.
Yep.
The way that they come down and get Davian out. The effort that you're watching Ethan put in to try and keep Davian stuck there, and with the drone in action as well. I think it's all just really well orchestrated.
Yeah. No matter, even in like the worst movies, a cool like caravan heist I always love. Like I think of X-Men: The Last Stand, and
I was about to bring that up.
The Magneto scene and how that movie's not great, but that's a dope
scene
where he just gets Mystique out of there, and I'm like, hell yeah, caravans, baby.
I really like the breaking into the Vatican moment. I want to highlight that because I think J.J. Abrams shoots the heist moments really well, and so like when we see Tom Cruise like run up the Vatican wall and do that spin and like do some gadget stuff. That's awesome.
Yes.
I want to highlight that too. That actually just like the whole way of them pulling off this kidnapping heist, essentially just like Tom Cruise getting into the Vatican. And then when he gets over the wall, you see him dressed as a priest with his Bible and just the constant costume changes he goes through. It's like, man, I love when spy movies do this. This is great.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think I like how Julia kills Billy Crudup's character. I don't get it. I don't think.
What do you mean you don't get it?
It's just so abrupt. It's just that Billy Crudup shows up, he gets shot and dies, and then it's just over. And like there was really no resolution there. And it just feels a little. I don't know, disappointing, I guess, of an ending.
I don't think I feel that. I don't know what resolution I would want with Crudup. It's, like Ethan's like got all he needed out of that. I feel like the Hoffman is the bigger thing, and the taking out of Hoffman is the bigger deal. And Crudup is like, while it is like a big deal for him, like to be revealed as the traitor and everything, like once that's done, like Crudup's role in the film is kind of like, now we're done. Like it's not relevant anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like just he either needs to be captured or he needs to be taken out. And I don't mind that she does it. I like that she has a moment where she has to defend them both. I think that's really nice that Julia has this moment where she's given the power in the situation while he's unconscious.
Sure. I like that moment too.
And I don't mind that Billy Crudup suffers from it.
Yeah.
I really like when Ethan wakes up and he's like, "You did that.
Yeah.
Good job."
Doesn't she have to like shock him alive because of the brain?
No,
thing?
she shocked him
to death,
and that put him out.
Yes.
And she's doing the like pounding on his chest
That's
to bring
right.
him back.
The pow. Yeah.
That's the moment I highlighted. Don't forget the off.
When Crudup does reveal himself as the traitor, he has this whole little speech about war profiteering, essentially, and like how America will swoop in when a nation is on its, and it'll do what it does best.
Yep.
Democracy wins, which I think is just, god damn, it's a pretty good line.
Yeah,
it's real slimy, real gross, and Crudup does a good job delivering it. And then my last note on here that I have is I really like that we never need to know what the rabbit's foot is.
Yeah, I could not care less. I actually loved that like they never explain it. We never really see it. It's just a thing.
I love that there's a Mission Impossible movie where it's like, there's a thing, but it doesn't matter what the thing is.
Yes, because at the end of the day, it never really matters most of the time, honestly.
Okay, let's rate it. Ben, why don't you go first?
I will give it an 8.5.
8.5. Ryan or Sparkz?
I will give it an 8.0 out of 10.
Sparkz?
Yeah, solid 9.
Yeah, I'll go with an 8.5. I really like this movie.
Love it.
Okay, so let's move on to Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, the 4th entry in the franchise.
Did you see how fancy he was with the logos?
Came out, and you make me self-conscious today, Sparkz. I have to host this show. You got to stop. Came out in 2011, a couple years after the last one. Directed by Brad Bird, written by Josh Appelbaum and André Wenny. They were a writing duo. They wrote episodes of Alias and the 2 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that Michael Bay produced. They wrote those 2, among other things. They have had a long career. But the Alias connection is how they got this movie, because J.J. Abrams was originally supposed to direct this before he backed out to do Star Trek.
Oh, I didn't know he was going to come back. Okay, cool.
Yeah, which is why he remains a producer on this one and the next 2.
That makes sense. That's why Giacchino's still here. Yeah.
Well, Giacchino would work with Brad Bird at this point.
You're Incredibles. You're right. Yep. You're right.
This was Brad Bird's first live action film. Obviously, The Incredibles and Iron Giant. Importantly, though, Christopher McQuarrie did a script edit on this. This is his first introduction to the franchise. So Christopher McQuarrie is not credited for this, but about halfway through production, he came on board and retooled the script. He himself has said that all the pieces were there, but it's not. But like it just was in a different order. So what the changes that he did are very important contextually for this discussion. Tom Cruise's backstory for this film and Jeremy Renner's backstory for this film were not connected at all. He connected them, made the couple that Jeremy Renner was following was Tom Cruise and Julia.
That makes me care more about Jeremy Renner.
Right. He was also the one who said that Julia needs to be alive at the end of this movie, because the reason is no matter what you do, if Ethan wins, I'm still sad because Julia is gone.
Right.
Yeah.
So by revealing Julia to be alive, it wraps up both Jeremy Renner and Tom Cruise's arc in a really meaningful way and makes the audience very happy.
Right.
That's true.
Because of how controversial Tom Cruise has become in between this and the third one, Jeremy Renner was going to replace him as the star of this franchise. Paramount was adamant about this, but McQuarrie will never say this. He has never said this, but the DP for this and the next film, Robert Elswit, he confirmed that McQuarrie rewrote the ending so that Ethan didn't become the secretary and Jeremy Renner became the agent. And that was going to be the franchise from now on.
Thank Christ. Thank God. Oh.
The reason is, Ben, because I know you don't know why Jeremy Renner is in this movie. The reason is because coming off The Hurt Locker, Jeremy Renner was hot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's a great movie. He's good in that movie too. So like I get it.
I've seen it.
He was going to replace Tom Cruise and Jason Bourne coming back around to this franchise.
Don't breeze past that real quick. Ben's seen The Hurt Locker. Let's all just clap for Ben.
He was going and he was going to replace Jason Bourne, Matt Damon, with the Bourne Legacy. They were like hot on this man being franchise material.
2 franchises saved.
Which is why.
What year did this come out again?
2011.
And of course, you have Avengers the following year.
Yep.
Right. And he had already done Thor this year.
Mm-hmm.
2011. And he's uncredited for that one. And Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunter.
That movie's That movie's fun.
Yeah. So that's basically most everything that you need to know going into this. The uncredited cameos for this movie are Tom Wilkinson, Ving Rhames, and Michelle Monaghan.
Yeah.
Great.
That is the last time they used the uncredited cameos.
That's a shame.
Initial thoughts?
Yeah, Ben?
Oh, I love this movie also. I actually like this more than MI3 because of, not to go into a whole review of it, but just there's a lot of great character moments. And there's also, this movie's funny. My favorite line is on the tower. It's like, hey, your line's too short. No shit.
It's a good line.
Had me cackling.
Ryan?
If this were the trajectory of the rest of the franchise, I would be so happy because this movie's incredible. This really is like, I love what these movies become with McQuarrie, but like this is just a banger from top to bottom. It has my favorite like it's been a while since I've watched all these movies. Like I've only seen from this on, I've only seen these movies in theaters once, right? So like I'm going to be revisiting these for the second time. But like this has my favorite spy scene in any of these movies with the giant fake wall. That's my favorite scene in any of these movies.
That's so
it's
good.
so ingenious and fun when multiple people show up. Like I've never thought about something like that before, and it was just like that seems believable and fun and something that like could exist in like a fake spy world. I think this movie is really fun. The villain's not as strong, but he's still really great. He's a really fun like the end of the world, rebuild society. Like I'm into it. He's good enough. Nuclear war always sucks. Metal Gear taught me that. So like I love the crew, big crew. Think this one's a banger.
Hey, Sparkz, initial thoughts?
I really, really love this movie. I think this movie's very great. It has one big problem to me, and otherwise I think it's awesome. And it's that Ving Rhames isn't in it enough.
True.
That's it.
Yeah.
I would say that's my negative of the movie too.
I have two, Ving Rhames being one of them, because I really like Ving Rhames just in general in these movies, and it's a bummer to go from what I think is a very good Ving Rhames used movie to one where he's just an uncredited cameo. I know the issue was they couldn't differentiate him and Benji at this point, and that's fine, but my love of this movie is known. I adore this one. This one, for up until now, is my favorite. But like Ryan, I only really saw these movies once in theaters, and I just really held on to my like really initial love of this film. So I'm curious to know after we get to 5 and 6 what changes. Mm-hmm. But I really love this movie. The only real thing is I kind of don't get a lot from the villain. I know like his motivations really don't need to be much, but I like the actor. I like what we're seeing from the actor, and I kind of wish we had more.
Yeah. There's one thing about the villain, just because I'm going to use this to just get us into it, which is that it's a big surprise. It is a surprise when it's revealed that it's not his right-hand guy, but him himself who went into the meeting and everything.
Mm-hmm, right.
And like, I kind of wish there was something about that played off a little bit more later in the film about his desire to be personally involved. And like, that's kind of the only hint of true personality we get about him. And then otherwise, like, it's not there.
Yep.
And I like that, like, cause he has that guy is there. We see him later in the movie. Like, he exists. It's just, interesting choice to reveal that it was him, but we don't really develop on that.
Yeah. Like, why did you need to do that?
Yeah. And we also get like in the beginning, he is, he's the one who's taking the case, and he's the one who really like throws the IMF team off of the trail.
That's a big bit.
I do like that initial stuff. Yeah.
It's a great bit, but we never really see him do stuff like that again.
Yeah, he seems like a big super like an evil super spy kind of guy, and then we learn he's like a professor, like an evil professor. And I'm like, oh, so he also is just like a cool spy on the side.
I have to be like specific about this, which is that I really like the location of the final showdown for him and Ethan.
Yeah.
But I don't like it as like, it just feels like this guy kind of just went to a location he couldn't quite escape from, and that's why he gets busted and his plan fails. And I'm like, oh, you kind of went out like with a little bit of like it's just a little bit of a. He becomes radically less impressive.
He's also
all
like
of a sudden.
He's also one of those bad guys where like I don't think of him as the final physical confrontation bad guy for Ethan. Like he is more of the mental guy. So I was expecting Winstrom to kind of be the big final threat, which there is like a confrontation with a different character. But him like going toe to toe with Ethan, he shouldn't. Ethan Hunt's like a super spy, and this guy's had doubles his age, right? Like
it does feel like he would have sent Winstrom with the case.
Yes.
And he would have gone and tried to like disrupt the signal.
Yeah.
Stuff inside. Like that would have been his thing. And he trusts Winstrom physically to be better about taking the case.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't really thought of that, because I do really like the fight sequence in the car park. I think it's a really cool location, and it's utilized really well. But it is super weird
cool.
Yeah, and it is weird when you think about that this guy, it shouldn't really be a match for Tom Cruise. Like Tom Cruise is getting beat
Yeah, he is. And this guy's like, again, like maybe not double his age, but he's like he's a nuclear professor
and not a spy and not a guy who does this.
Yeah.
Like it is unusual because like Ethan should have this easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Frankly, like it's a little bewildering in that way.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude survived a car crash.
Yeah, I can believe much more that he's the guy who's going in and pulling out the wires and like standing by with a gun to take out Paula Patton.
And if you guys don't notice, this is the bad guy from John Wick 1.
Yes. Yeah. I know. I recognized him. I mentioned that I do miss Luther. We all miss Luther. I do like Ethan and Benji.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's a really cool relationship between the two of them in this one that is allowed to shine. Specifically in the moment just before the coolest gadget ever, which is the wall. Excuse me. Benji is like really like, you can tell Benji is anxious about this and like gonna go too soon. And you just see Tom like stop him and then like wordlessly, there's a lot of wordless Tom Cruise in this. Like wordlessly like calms him like, it's okay. Take your time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a really good beat.
What I was trying to say earlier when Ryan was talking about it, and I was chomping at the bit because I know there were cool gadgets in MI3, but the gadgets in Ghost Protocol are so much better.
Dude, this movie, like from top to bottom, so many gadgets.
Like the whole fake wall thing was, I think, I'm like, the second that thing popped out, I was like, why are they putting up a screen? I was like, I was like, that is the coolest thing. And then when you get a moment when Simon Pegg's face just comes up and you see his face, he goes, oh shit, and he goes back down.
Yeah, I will tell you as a like visual gadget thing, I don't know that this has been topped yet in the franchise. Like I'm trying to think of things from 5 and 6, and I'm like, I don't think anything stands out as much as this particular thing does. Like I think this is like the defining, like incredible gadget sequence. Like
the sticky gloves too are awesome.
Yeah,
There's so many excellent gadgets here. What was I love the just remember blue is glue, red dead. Just so quickly.
Even the face, like the face mask creator, because we see a new edition of the mask creator, and also poor Benji, he just wanted to wear a mask. He never did.
He got a third arm though.
He did have a third arm.
Oh, I love that physical bit.
Yeah.
I really like this. Even though we get cool gadgets and stuff, I really like that this film pushes the team by having like tech that is failing them in certain cases, specifically like being the first Mission Impossible where like the masks just aren't going to work.
Yeah,
we're not going to do it. We got to cut it. And I think that's really nice. It felt refreshing at the time, and it still does. And
it's such a tense scene when they realize that like this double fake meeting that they put on, that both masks are not going to work. So they just have to go in hoping that both parties don't know who each other are.
Yeah.
And they have to listen to the conversation to repeat it. Yes. So they have and it's just like, it's so well written. It's so well edited and directed. And I love it. And like Lea Seydoux is like the female assassin. I love her. She's from like Death Stranding and a bunch of French films who are more important than Death Stranding. But like, it's such a great cast. The bad guy's like Winstrom, like he doesn't have a lot to do, but I think he's like an imposing guy. Like it's all good.
Speaking of the gadget stuff, the very excellent bit where Sawyer from Lost is falling off the roof at the top, and he throws down the thing and turns up and shoots as he lands on the inflatable pad that he threw down. Amazing. We are so lucky that Brad Bird got to make his spy movie after making The Incredibles, because like he has so much good spy undertone stuff in there. And so the fact that not only did he get to come over here and do that, but he got to do it with Giacchino doing the music, which is like num A+.
Perfect.
Giacchino came to this one to play.
Yeah.
He had the score like emphasized to the max.
I will definitely say I heard the Mission Impossible theme a lot more throughout this movie than I have any others, and I'm glad they still do like when they get Ethan out of prison and he looks over to Jane.
Stop! No, say your point first, because I have a whole thing on that.
No, I'm just talking about how I love how you hear the Mission Impossible theme throughout the entire film.
Before you go, Brandon, just on terms of the theme, what I think is so cool is because like we've recently watched all these movies, so I don't feel like any of the others have have done as well and as many variations on the theme that we get here from Giacchino. Even Giacchino in the previous one, he started flirting with it. I think there is one other variation on piano in the third one, but otherwise, like usually when we're hearing the theme, we're hearing more or less the theme.
Yeah.
As you know, like played a little differently, but like here he's bringing all his jazz, he's jazzing it up, he's doing all these different fun ways of including it. Excellent score.
It's in his bag.
The opening is my favorite in the franchise.
Me too.
Just the prison break sequence is excellently choreographed, excellently executed, and then as Ben was beginning to allude to, just the light the fuse. I'm like, I'm so into that.
The best opening credits by far so far.
Yes.
Where we are getting glimpses of things in the movie, but never so much that it's ruining any of the details.
It's like a trailer.
As you are going through the prison with the fuse, and Giacchino's just like, he's popping off on that theme. Like, oh my God, it's so good.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah. There's nothing but love. Like the prison sequence is so well executed that quite literally by the time you get to the light the fuse and the theme song, you're fist pumping in the air. At least I was. Like I was so pumped and like excited for the rest of this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
One of the reasons why I love this movie so much, I will agree the villain is not, after Philip Seymour Hoffman, the villain kind of falls flat. But the reason why I love this movie so much, and also why I'll rate higher than MI3, is because of all the great character stuff that we get with not just with Ethan, but with Benji and with Jane especially, and even Brandt, Jeremy Renner's character. Going back to earlier, we mentioned Sparks' mom's comment about how Mission Impossible was always about a team. This is where we get a really, I mean, maybe not a tight-knit team, but a team nonetheless, and a team who went to war with each other and came out of it on the other side.
To add to your point, this Mission Impossible 3 is when we start to really see a change to where the movies start to become more of an ensemble, and that's exemplified here as we get, again, like in the next movie, 3 returning cast members, which is unheard of in this franchise up until this point, because here there's only 1 returning cast member.
Yeah. And also what I love about this movie is how you constantly have questions, and as the movie is progressing, you are given answers. You're not given the right answers per se, but you're given answers, and then that turns into more questions throughout the movie. Especially like my whole thing. One of the things about with like long-standing franchises, especially when they put in a big life event, i.e., in MI3 where Ethan gets married to Julia. I was under the impression that, oh, great. I mean, there's got to be 7 Mission Impossible movies. I can only imagine that his wife is nowhere to be seen. They're going to break him up off screen. I'm just like, for once, part of me just wants, like, can't we just have like a happy ending for once? Yeah. Just once. Just have like a happy, somewhat stable relationship I don't know. I don't know what I want, to be perfectly honest.
Well, as I said, Christopher McQuarrie agrees with you, because at the end of this movie, it's very important to him that Julia is alive.
Brad Bird was like, that's by him being happy.
No.
Yeah. But because when we first get this, and then you hear like, oh, they split up. I was like, oh, and then later on, it's like, hey, you get the whole like the heartbreaking scene with Brandt. I'm like, oh, no wonder. That's because I was curious. It was like, why is Ethan in a Russian prison? This is weird. And just, yeah.
I want to say, because before you go off of Renner, I want to say, like, watching this movie and having watched Renner be good to serviceable in a lot of things recently, not just for the past couple of years, I'm like, oh, I remember why he was so hot after Hurt Locker. Like, I think he's good in this.
Ryan and I talked about this a bit, which is that Renner, I think, does best when he's a secondary character.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think he's good in this. I think I think some of the emotional moments work for him, and I think some of the comedy moments are very funny. Like when he's going to jump down that shaft, I think is such good comedy.
Yeah.
I was like the whole cast. I'm like, this is a great cast.
Mm-hmm. Even when we first meet him, you like when he says, "Oh, I'm an analyst," and how. I love how he fooled me. Obviously, he fooled me throughout the entire movie. I'm watching this movie like, this is Hawkeye. I know this guy. He's done some action stuff before. So I'm like, oh, so this is a movie where he's playing like kind of like the nerdy guy, the guy who isn't in the field. And then you get to the scene in the hotel room with the assassin, and he instantly disassembles that guy's weapon. It's like, oh no, you're not. You're lying. You a
Who are you
liar.
really, Grant?
Well,
Like, even
he is an analyst now.
Now.
Right.
But also what I love because how Renner even cemented the fact that he was just unsure of being in the field was even when they're in the river. And he's like, how did you know that turning on the flare and pushing the body away was going to draw their fire? And he's like, I don't know, just seemed like a good idea at the time.
Well, he said, I didn't think that they'd be thinking because like they're shooting, they're not thinking.
They're not scholars.
They're not scholars. Yeah, they're mercenaries. Yeah.
Yeah. And also what I realized was the secretary in this movie is Carmine Falcone from Batman. The Nolan Batman films.
Yeah. I really like the secretary scene because Ben just brought it up. I really like that moment together between him and the secretary. The first time we've met the secretary in these movies, and he gives a really good impression. Like the last thing he says is like, Ethan, I want you to know, no matter which way this goes, I've always considered you a friend. And I was like, this is working for me. Like, I'm kind of sad that this guy dies.
Yeah, I really like the scene of like, yeah, we're initiating ghost protocol. You know, the IMS has been disavowed. Like, you're done, buddy. If you happen to escape, right? Here's a safe house and all your friends and resources and all this stuff. And I'm like, that's a friend right there. I love that.
Yeah. Ben also mentioned, started to mention in the Mission Impossible 3 discussion that in this one we get this message will self-destruct, but it doesn't, and he has to go over and whack it.
As of right now, that's my favorite one because I mean we had 3 movies where they go kaput, but in this one where Ethan's just like and it explodes. And I'm like,
I mean,
okay,
this movie's funny. Like, there's some genuinely good comedy moments. Like the no shit moment, like genuinely made me laugh out loud.
What's his Russian friend Bogdan?
Bogdan.
I love Bogdan. That guy, the
cop.
And yes. And there's like the Russian arms dealer guy too. Like, I love every small character that pops up. Like, they're all great.
Sergey, are you not Sergey?
Are you not Russian?
Yeah. God, okay, we need to highlight the cop real quick. I love the cop so much, specifically the bit where Ethan's on the window and he's like, not a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
It seemed like one at the time. And then he does the belt bit and he goes down and he lands and they just have this moment where they both look at each other like, holy shit.
Yeah. That worked.
And then the cop's just sky-staring him and then he's like, grab his gun and Ethan's like, oh shit.
He was like lighting a cigarette and he's like, it's great. Yeah.
You know what that cop reminds me of? Like this movie, and I just realized because when I was watching this, like this cop reminds me of someone. Who does he remind me of? He reminds me of Agent Serizawa from Lupin the Third.
Sure, absolutely. That is how it feels like him just chasing after him and all that stuff. And especially when he gets to the end and he's like, so we're on the same side. And he's like, you wanted me to know that.
Yeah.
Hospital? Yeah.
I really like I really love this the big stunt in this film. This is the film that really like cemented the Tom Cruise do big stunt in these movies, which is the climbing the tower, the tallest building in the world, which they definitely were just like, how can I climb this?
That shot when he leans forward out of the window and turns and the camera follows him out onto the building. So good. Brad Bird's so good.
Dude, 150 stories up, like, give me a break.
Yo, I don't have a fear of heights, but that one kind of scared me, to be perfectly honest.
And the joke that when he because his thing breaks and so he throws it and then he walks back, it gets it back up there and it's up there, just sticking in the wind,
glitching, and then it goes and he's like, that'll shoot your confidence real quick.
he's going up, he's like,
and then he's gotta kick the window. Oh god,
it's such a good scene.
Yeah, the tension,
and then coming back down with the thread, with the wheel thread.
You know what I really love about that sequence is that you can tell where the camera is because he jumps over the camera, and I kind of really love that because it sells the realness of him running down this building.
Right.
Oh, dude, it's so sick.
That's so awesome. I love this movie. I love Tom Cruise in these movies.
Yeah, he really. This is the one. Like, the Mission Impossible movies have always been like his like production. Like, I produce these movies, but like 4 is like, what if I wanted to die? For movies. Yeah. And this is also the one where he even has a thing where I guess during behind the scenes sequence, because his leg break that the bad guy does to him was supposed to be like a career breaking leg break. And Tom Cruise just goes, no, not for you.
I'm not leaving.
No, not for me. Brand, no way, Jose.
So,
we did talk about Paula Patton, Jane.
Yes.
I love her.
I love her.
I've been
biggest
waiting.
forearms I've ever seen. There's one shot specifically where it's pure muscle. And I'm like, I've never seen someone that jacked in my life. Oh my God.
Ryan, I am head over heels in love with Paula Patton in this movie.
She's one of the most beautiful people on the planet, and she kicks ass.
I'm genuinely so upset that she's not in the next one.
Me too. Yeah. I didn't know that she was the Horde wife in Warcraft.
I was about to bring this up. I was literally about to say
she's the Orc wife. Yes. Yeah, she's the best.
I've watched this movie twice in this past week, and I'm just like, mommy, sorry.
For real, like I try not to be too horny on main, as the kids like to say, but like Paula Patton truly is like stunning. And she's beating the shit out of people, and like.
I start feeling like the Indian guy. Like, please beat me.
When she slapped him, when she slapped him, everyone, like, we're all like joking around, like, yeah, blah blah. And I'm like, bro, I get it. No, I would do you. I get it. You can flip me over, Paula. It's fine.
Even when she's talking to the Winston and what's in the other guy who died, poor guy. I was like, damn, she's pulling it off. And then, like, of course, when she enters the party scene, I was like, mommy. So
her name is Agent Carter. Fun fact, Haley Atwell, Agent Carter, will be in the few movies later.
That's true. That is true.
I appreciate that she has an arc of wanting revenge for
that mirrors Ethan's that we think, because we don't actually know the true story of Ethan.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is where it's supposed, and she's trying to connect it with him on that, and he's like,
"You don't know the whole story."
He says we can't get them back.
Yeah,
and like he's meaning that in the same way of like, well, his wife isn't dead.
Yeah,
he can't be with her.
They can't truly be together in this life. Yeah.
I really liked her arc in this movie. I found it very compelling. Her fight with what's that girl's name again? Léa Seydoux.
Léa Seydoux, yeah.
Is so good, and like you get the moment where she like bursts in and it's like, here, watch her. Why me? Because I'll kill her if I do it.
Yeah, because she killed Agent Sawyer.
Yeah, and like she kicks her off the building, which is an incredible moment.
Yes.
Or also even like the scene when she sees her, like when the assassin lady walks out and there's Jane, she sees her, she just runs after her, like us kind of hulking out in a way.
Oh my god. She put the devil in Léa Seydoux in that moment, because this hardened assassin was rummaging for her keys.
It's true. Yeah.
And here comes Jane just running down that hallway. I'm like, kick her ass.
Yeah,
like
she's very good.
I was very shocked that she got kicked out the window. Although part of me had a feeling that the second they took that entire window pane off so Tom Cruise can go up the building to the server room, I'm like, something's falling out of that window. I thought it was just going to be a random henchman, like one of the bodyguards. Nah, it was the assassin. And I'm like,
check out the window. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Check out the
window. The Kremlin sequence where he pretends to be a general and then has a reversible jacket. Oh man, I love spy shit, y'all. Watching these movies again, I'm like, oh man, I really like spy shit. That's right. Like I love Metal Gear. It's all coming back to me, man. It's so good.
Hey, remember when I said earlier I love how Tom Cruise constantly changes his outfit in MI3 from a priest to a not priest? Yeah, I actually love it how he's a general, tells people to close the gates, and instantly puts and just takes off and is like Bruce Springsteen. I'm just like, that's funny as shit.
And I love it so much because it is fundamentally a different jacket. Yeah. Like that uniform is form fitted, but that thing is poofy. So like he just reverses it and he's just got a completely different jacket on.
And has a tourist guide in front of him. Yeah.
And not only that, when the cop sees him in the hospital and he pulls up the jacket, revealing the general star, I was like, oh, it bit him in the ass. Because you never see that in spy movies. You never do. It's always like they either have a clean getaway or the cop just like, oh, I know it was you. I reckon, or it was some BS reason how an antagonistic force recognizes our hero. And this time it's like, nah, I got you, man. You're
a lot of the decisions in this movie were in direct response to people thinking the Mission Impossible franchise has gotten old hat with 3. So that's why the masks break, and that's why the cop gets eaten. Like they are kind of trying to subvert expectations of what you think a Mission Impossible movie is supposed to be.
Yeah,
and I think honestly it works.
Yeah, they have to be down and dirty sometimes. They just have to use the skills that they have in front of them instead of like gadgets and stuff. Even though there are tons of gadgets in here, yeah, they fail.
Can Can I tell you the sexiest gadget move I've ever seen in my life? For me is just when they're driving to the server room and they're just like, find me another way. Boom, boom, and boom. Moves the HUD on the screen, which that's sexy as hell.
I would be remiss not to mention the very good red balloon bit that goes up and has the camera and drops the device down the chimney.
The sensor or whatever.
Very sneaky.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole Kremlin break-in is incredible. Like, I love that whole sequence.
No, like, even when you also, what I love about like MI3 and MI4 or Ghost Protocol is that there's always an operation. Like with Mission Impossible 3, the operation to get Philip Seymour Hoffman generally goes without a hitch. I mean, there's like a few bits more, like when the security guard's coming into the bathroom and he has to do the coughing fit. Mm-hmm. And getting inside the Kremlin. I mean, I love Simon Pegg in this movie. I'm so glad he's part of the team now. And he's like trying to, just like trying to calm his nerves down. And Tom Cruise is just like, dude, chill the F out.
Yeah, it's very good.
When they get to the prize in the archive room and they find out that the tapes are gone, and then you hear Cobalt over their frequency, and I love how it goes from 0 to oh shit in 5 seconds.
Yeah, you hear the voice and it's like, go team, we're in the vault, and he's like, that's nobody on my team. That is immediately, you're right, it goes so fast.
He says, team leader, are you in the archive room? Which cues everyone to go like, oh shit, what's going on in the archive room?
Everyone's in the archive room. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I just love that. And also the trailer shot with the sandstorm. I love how the sandstorm
iconic. Iconic, him running out of the building in that sandstorm.
Yeah, and even the chase scene in the sandstorm, because you can't see shit. It's like it's awesome. It's a very cool scene.
The only way that I could figure that guy could outrun Tom Cruise.
Yeah, nature.
I really like this movie. I don't think I have much else. I do love this has one of my favorite lines, which is literally, I know it doesn't really come to anything, but when Ethan gets the cake, first off, Ethan's a lunatic, and I love that the guy decides to kill himself thinking, oh, this guy's not a lunatic, and then he gets in the car and drives off the car park to crash.
Puts the seatbelt on, the airbag's going on, yeah.
Even he's kind of like, I guess I'm doing this. But like, I love the just like, get the case, mission accomplished.
I also love how Luther gives him shit for it at the bar 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
Did you really say mission accomplished?
It's obviously like a big trip of like, having like the bomb like be cut off right like 1 second, but like it's really, really good of having the missile going and having like 3 steps to get to the missile to go off.
Oh yeah,
like,
the power, the drives, the button.
Yeah, you need the drives, you need the power, and you need Ethan. And like you're waiting, and then it works, and it's like, oh. Yeah, it's like, oh, like what did they say it was? I was like, oh, it was just like an unmanned vehicle that crashed.
It was a meteorite.
It was a meteor.
The meteorite. Yeah, sure. Lovely stuff.
Oh, yeah. I just realized what this note says. I brushed this over, but I wanted to highlight it, just that extra bit. The jump into the server room in the place when Brandt is like psyching himself. I was like, okay, I can do this. I'll catch you. Okay. Oh boy. Okay. There we go. All right. And it goes on it's just long enough, honestly, because like you're like getting really, and by the time Ethan is like, jump, and she breaks her hand, it's so tense. Did you jump? I jumped. Should I not have jumped?
Yeah, that whole sequence is really fun because that dude is just like being like levitated in midair, like running into things because of a little robot. I think it's really fun.
I think my favorite thing is the release of tension being the clutching on the finger too hard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that's how you release the tension of that buildup in the scene, and then you cut back to Renner, so you don't even know what happened with him yet.
That's true.
I think that's really, really smart. This film is filled with a lot of really smart choices. Brad Bird's just very good at. I think this is the first Mission Impossible that feels like just so detail oriented and thought about from top to bottom.
Yes.
I've got a couple of notes that highlight that the way that they do the subtitles when Ethan is waking up and it's Russian and then you watch it fizzle into English. I think that's very good. When he takes the paperclip from the nurse, they show a shot of her grabbing the papers and them all spilling all over the floor.
Yep.
So the cop if he was paying attention, could have caught that, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
They do a great job with that kind of thing. There's this really incredible shot where you're in the guy's like party palace at the end, and the water fountain like shoots the water across, and the camera follows from Ethan to reveal the cop at the location to the other side. And I think that's just really, really well done. There's just a lot of really smart directing decisions done in this movie.
Yeah.
That fill it with personality.
I don't have as many notes on this movie as I did on Mission Impossible 3, because after a while I was just kind of sitting there going like, I would just keep writing. I love this.
Trying to get on the train.
Oh yeah.
Put your face in it. Pole. Like, trying to avoid the poles and get the eye scanner going.
It feels so natural because they're like, okay, 47. Oh shit. And they just like run the other way.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that sequence. Honestly, like I love everything about this movie. Every sequence is awesome. All the gadgets are so much fun. I really like this movie.
Again, like if it's there's like another world where like Brad Bird like actually like made a bunch of stuff instead of just like I don't know what he does anymore besides like randomly work on Obi-Wan Kenobi for no reason. Where he's made like the next 4 Mission Impossible movies, and they are all like this. Again, like I love the next movies, but like of this kind of like particular tone of being like really funny but still action and dramatic, because I think they become a little more dramatic with McQuarrie, which again is not a bad thing whatsoever. But the tone of this movie specifically, I really, really like. And there's a world where like Brad Bird made 2 more of these that I really love to have seen.
Yeah. This one really set. While they do change it a little bit in the next 2, as Ryan has been saying, like this one really set the template though. This was like Mission is back. This is what Mission is. And we're going forward. So much of what we know of the next few movies came from this movie, specifically the crazy stunts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, shall we rate it?
Yes, I shall give it a 9 out of 10. Ben?
Oh, I'll definitely give it a 9.5 out of 10. I had a blast with this movie.
Sparkz?
Yeah, I'll give it a 9. I think that it's very, very good. I think the only thing that holds it back is not having Ving Rhames in more of the movie and a mishandled, I think, villain character for what it's trying to do. I think just, again, like once we said it out loud and it's like, it would make much more sense for Winstrom to have taken the case. I'm like, it would make much more sense. Like, that's just weird. I do feel like it just kind of fumbles the ball with the villain a little bit.
Yeah, I will give it. I'm hovering around a 9 because I feel like I should give it a 9, but I really like this movie, so I'm going to give it a 9.5. Like I have a really great time with this one. This one is just so much fun, and I love rewatching the sequences, and I am in love with Paula Patton.
Yeah, it's true. I forgot how all stunning person she is from acting and kicking ass and looking very pretty. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, shall we get into a book club then?
Real quick, because I think I just want to kind of gauge this. I think we're all the same, and I think it's going to change the next time we talk about Mission Impossible, and we'll be different. But does everybody think we collectively probably rank these films the same?
I don't know.
Is it 4, 3, 1, 2 for everyone?
Oh, you mean from so far?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We're all on the same page.
Yeah.
I think once 5 and 6 are in the mix, we're all going to get a little different.
Yes.
But now I think right now we all agree 4 is the best.
Yes.
3 then comes, then 1, and 2's at the bottom.
100%.
Yes. If you look at my letterbox, that is what it is.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Shall we get into a book club?